are one more time. Gentlemen, good afternoon and happy Sabbath.
Afternoon.
What
a week.
Yes, indeed. It is Saturday, July 31, and we want to welcome each and every one of you to the Pastor's Roundtable. This is the somebody fill in the blank somethingth edition of season 3. I haven't kept count of. Do anybody know? Any of you guys know?
I am not sure. I know.
Keep up with the count.
I normally do, but I can't remember what count it is. I think it's 16. I think it's episode 16.
Let's go with that. Well, whichever episode it is, we want to welcome each of you who have joined us today. We know we've got people who have joined us on Facebook. Some of you are joining us from YouTube. You have already been doing it today, just shouting out where you're from. As always, I'm seeing here in the chat, Valerie from Atlanta, Georgia is with us.
Atlanta's in the house.
Who else did I see who was saying where they were from? Rebecca, coming from Atlanta. You guys shout out anything you see as well.
My mother, Ashaki Patrick from Trinidad and Tobago.
The Spice Islands back in the house today.
Hey, listen, Mama's a regular, man. Mama's a regular.
That's right.
Hey, that's all right. It's all right.
Well, we definitely love Sister Wade in a special way, or Sister Patrick in a special way.
Yeah.
So we praise God for that.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, we want to know where you're joining us from. You may be joining us from right here in the sunny state of Florida. This beautiful Florida weather. Anyway, the weather is good. That's Florida is some of the most. Anytime I see something crazy going on in the news, I say, I hope it's not Florida. I hope it's not from Florida, and then it's usually from Florida.
For Florida.
But at
Florida
least we have
is
the weather
news.
going for us.
Yeah.
That's right. The only good thing you got going for you right now is the weather.
Right,
yeah, because hey, listen,
this hurricane season, right? Well, we are in hurricane season, so you just never know, when something's going to pop up here in Florida.
This Delta variant of this what are we calling it? This virus thing. It's going crazy down here in Florida. We are leading the country right now.
Yes,
it is. New Delta cases, and where I am in Broward County. I think up in Jacksonville is just a little bit ahead of us. Miami is a little ahead of us, but we're coming in a strong third. So if you were in Florida, if you're down here where I am, just be careful. I'm not going to tell you what to do, what not to do. I'm just saying be careful. Be careful.
Well, listen, we could tell them to do this. You got to just mask up.
There you go.
Hey, put the mask on, baby. Well, listen, I want to thank you all for your prayers. I was telling the team this week I was in Jamaica. My uncle passed away, and so I went down there to be definitely with the family and also to lead out in that funeral service. So I want to thank my team, my co-hosts, my friends, my colleagues, and for your prayers. Was able to get down there and come back up here, and so God is good. I do want to say this, that the church in Jamaica is alive and well. I want to tell you that. I mean, they are fired up in Jesus, and so again, thank you for your prayers, definitely.
Yeah, well, we're glad you made it back, man, and the family and everything as well. And we're going to continue to lift you guys up because we know that's not an easy thing.
Yes. We also want to share our condolences to the Allegheny East Conference family, and particularly the Fordham Wagner family, as they are actually Fordham Wagner Wright family, as they are also in the heat of bereavement. Many of you know that Elder Henry Fordham and his wife Sharon, his beautiful wife Sharon, lost their life in a tragic fire a couple Sundays ago, and it has just been so unreal to just to hear the news, and for the family, they have been through so much over the years, and true Christian leaders, both Pastor Henry and his wife were to the Allegheny East Conference and to Adventism around the world. So we're just saddened by their loss, and so we want to keep them in prayer.
Right,
absolutely.
Definitely. Keeping that Allegheny East Conference definitely in prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to see our good friend, Bishop Donald Oliver, in the
Yes.
chat today from Orangeburg, South Carolina. Always good to see you, Bishop. Hope you and your congregation are doing well. We always appreciate your presence and seeing what you're doing in this online space. We wish you well. All right, gentlemen. So, we ready? Last week, how'd it go?
Yeah. Well, last week was on fire. Many of us were talking about the return, and the comments in the chat and the comments from our guests were just so on point. Folks, I've heard so many folks said they took. I won't say they took. They loved what they heard. They loved the different viewpoints that they heard and what they saw that was written in the chat. So it was a good show.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, good dialogue. Good dialogue last week, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm excited about today, though. But before we talk about today, Dr. Henry, there's something that we need people to do right now. Right now. What is it?
Listen, you know what? When you have a good meal, what you have to do with that meal? You share it.
I don't know.
You can just share it.
Some
I don't know about that
either. Well, listen, we want you to share what's happening today. So please, your friends, your groups, go ahead and take the time to share, because we just believe that we have a great program here this afternoon.
Absolutely. Listen, in our little promo, our conversation last night, we did a kind of a late night, Friday night thing last night. We said that today we're going to try to set a goal of every week having at least 100 shares. We've been in that 80 ballpark, 60 to 80. So today we're going to see if we can get 80 shares. So if you have never shared the Pastors Roundtable stream, the PRT stream, today is the day to start. So you want to, if it's just share it to your own page, share it to a group that you're in. Now, don't share it to a group that's going to kick you out for sharing it. Just, but share it to an appropriate place. Tag somebody in the stream, share it that way. And I'm getting my wife just texted me just now and told me to speak up. We tested this last night extensively to make sure that my mic was up so that I would not get that text. I'm throwing off my game right now.
You sound good to me, so I don't know if it's,
All right. All right. Anyway, but yes, that's what we need to do, because we want to get those 100 shares in this go around. Yes. So share it. If we can get everybody to share it just 2 times, we'll hit that 100 real easy. So we're looking forward to seeing those shares out today. Dr. Henry, what is on the table today, my friend?
Well, listen, today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Listen, we are talking about challenges that the higher education institutions face. We're going to deal with unique programs that are offered at our schools that may not be known. So we're going to look at Adventist education. All right, Adventist education in the higher education level or tertiary level of education. So I'm telling you, I'm excited. We have people that are here today that have experience, that will be able to share some wisdom, and maybe I could give them just a little teaser. They're going to do a little bit more than just share experience. They have some other information that they're going to share as well. So we'll put that. Yeah, with the programs.
What?
Be nice.
You said what? No, let me stop.
Information is power.
Information.
Yeah, don't mind me.
I'm in a very creative way.
Listen. Last night when we were just testing and making sure the connections were good, we had a little dialogue. I thought we were doing the show. The information that were flowing from our guests was just on point and got me excited about what we will do today. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
All right. So that's what's on the table. We're talking about higher education, but who is at the table? Pastor Roger Wade, let us know.
We are so blessed to have these 2 gentlemen be with us. I'm going to start with Rick Young, who is the academic dean for Union College in Lincoln, Nebraska. Some of you may know the connection there. I hope you heard it. The connection with Lincoln, Nebraska. So Elder Young is going to be with us. He's sharing, and he's part of the group that's going to share a special program that I just fell in love with. You'll hear more about that a little later. And we also have with us from the North American Division, he carries two hats. One, he is the Associate Director for Higher Ed, and he is the Director for the Consortium of Adventist Universities and Colleges. So we're so glad to have Pastor Gordon Bietz and Pastor Rick Young. I gave you the title of pastor because you manage you pastor to our kids there at Union. So we're so glad to have you here with us.
That's awesome. Pleasure to be here. Listen, gentlemen, we're excited to have you. We're going to offer a word of prayer. Then we're going to give you an opportunity to address our audience for a quick moment. Pastor Henry, Dr. Henry, would you lead us in a word of prayer?
Yes, let's pray. Father, Lord, we thank you so much for this real, very important conversation. We ask that the information, Lord, that we give today, Lord, will be beneficial to our viewers, and that we will know, Lord, that you're working within our educational system. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Awesome. So, gentlemen, thank you again for joining us today. We're excited to have you here. Yes. Now, we know that each of you probably have resumes that we don't have the space on my big old desk here to fill up. So we didn't tell everybody everything about you, but we want you to just share some things with our audience today to give them just a little bit more familiarity with who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what you've done. So we're going to give you, normally when we have a lot of preachers on, and Pastor Bietz, yeah, you made me put pastor in front of your name, so you just cut your time in half because we know what preachers do with time.
That's right.
But no, I'm just playing. We're going to give you, I'm just going to pick a number. We're going to give you 39.7 seconds just to say hello to our audience, to greet them, share anything. I'm playing about the time. But the time is yours. Rick Young, you will follow.
I am truly a pastor, and that's my self-concept when I was president of Southern Adventist University, and that was that I was a spiritual leader of that university. I started in California, 13 years in Northern California as a pastor, came to Collegedale, Tennessee, was pastor of the Collegedale Church for 13 years, went to the Georgia Cumberland Conference as president for 3 years, then became the president of Southern Adventist University for 19 years. I hope you're not adding all this up. And then the last 5 years, I've been working at the North American Division as Director for Higher Education. Graduated from La Sierra College and Andrews University. That's me.
Awesome. Well, we are elated and delighted to have you with us, someone of your experience and your calendar. Thank you so much for joining us today. Rick Young, your turn. We're going to give you, since you are not a pastor, we're going to give you, 47.8 seconds. See what you can do with that.
That should be plenty of time. Thank you for having me here today. I came into higher ed a little different path. I started in law enforcement in Southern California, and I have over 32 years in law enforcement experience between security, campus safety, and retired as a lieutenant with the Glendale Police Department in LA County. Wow. My specialty was working with youth, substance abuse, gangs. In fact, I met my wife as working in gang investigations. She was an emergency room nurse, and we fell in love over a suspect that was in my custody that she was treating.
Come on now.
And she was a good SDA lady. And so she brought me into the church.
Awesome.
About 30 years ago. So, and then when I retired from that, I did go to Camp Cedar Falls and ran camp management there for a couple of years till we figured out what I wanted to do. And I ended up here at Union College in the International Rescue and Relief Program as the director, and have been here at Union College for the last 10 years.
Wow, that's fascinating.
I should say I'm currently the academic dean over nursing, international rescue and relief, health and human performance, psychology, social work, and the occupational therapy assistant program.
Got it. Wow. I see Tammy Jamar says, yes, Pastor Bietz was at my alma mater, Southern Adventist University, and handed me my BSN diploma. Awesome.
Oh, right.
Awesome.
There you go. There you go. Awesome.
I grew up in Glendale, California, so I need to get together with Rick and talk about something in Glendale. And I also understand that now that he's in higher education, his police background is very helpful.
Oh, that is.
Wonderful. Well, good stuff.
All right. So listen. We prayed.
I think
we're ready.
Let's get right to it.
Let's get right.
Let's get right to it. Let me get the first question out of here.
Dr. Henry. Dr. Henry.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it out. Well, again, we want to thank you all definitely for being on our program today. And this pandemic, when we talk about ministry, when we talk about education, we always kind of refer to the pandemic because it has shaped ministry. How we do life and business, and so dealing with universities and going back to school. I have two young people in my house, and I'm planning to take them back to school. They go to one of our schools, Oakwood University, and so I'm taking them there, and I'm imagining that a lot of our members that are listening, they're planning to take their students back, their young adults back to school. But I want to know, what will school look like in the fall? Like, just generally, like, what is it going to look like at our universities? And is it just going to be, is business as usual? We're going to just pick right up where we left off before the pandemic? Or will there be new policies in place? Will schools consider like a hybrid type situation where you could do some on campus, some out of campus? Can you tell me what is it going to look like in the fall? And we'll start with Pastor Gordon Bietz.
In general, I think you'll find that the students will experience what they did before the pandemic if they're vaccinated. But keep in mind that we have a moving target here. The CDC recommendations change almost weekly. I know the goal of all of our universities this fall is to have an in-person, face-to-face classes. The mask question may change some as the virus changes. Some will choose to wear masks under any circumstances. But overall, the overall setting will move in the direction of approximating normality. Each campus will be somewhat unique, but our ultimate goal is the health and well-being of our students, and so that has to come first. Remember, Adventist education is an absolute essential part of the future viability of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and providing our students and families options on campus or virtual is going to be really crucial.
All right.
And I think each of our campuses have COVID teams with medical professionals who recommend policies to administration. I imagine many of them are now working on what they're going to do in light of the Delta variant. But there may be some changes in protocols and in terms of delivery, but they want to mirror pre-COVID life as much as possible.
How about at Union College? What's happening at Union College in regards to life as usual?
If you look back 18 months ago when we started this adventure, unfortunately that spring semester we had to go to a off-campus online program with all of us scrambling. Last year, the entire school year, we stayed open on campus with our students and worked closely with individuals that did get sick and quarantined them, and then had online classes piped into their dorm room to get them through that year. But we were able to. This last spring semester was pretty normal for us. Good operations. As you said, we have strong teams on our campuses that watch it daily, and protocols have changed on a moment's notice. And the faculty have been fantastic in jumping in and doing what's needed for the students. And I have to say the students have been fantastic in cooperating. Without them doing what they need to do on their end to prevent the spread, we wouldn't be open. And so they really did a great job. If you look at any of the school websites, right on the front click or two, you're going to find a whole description of what's going on. In fact, I can share real quick. Union Colleges Caring for Our Community, right there, and it gives the response, and it's going to tell you everything that we're doing on campus, and what to do, what to look for, and what resources are out there. So I'm sorry, I guess I didn't hit the share.
You want to hit the share button?
Yeah,
I think you want to hit the share button.
Yeah,
there it is. There.
Yes.
I think.
Go ahead.
So websites are right there. Every school has them. You can see individually what each school is doing.
This is going to look a little funny at first, but hold on. We're going to get you in there. And
as Dr. Bietz said, we do have our nursing team, our PA team, our emergency management team watching and addressing needs on a day-by-day basis. So, but the real goal is keep our campus open and our students busy, because we feel that's where the best education comes in. The social element of campus is very important, and so that's why we spend a lot of time in this area.
awesome, good stuff.
I have a question. I have a question here. I was looking at the website. It said that Union College will not require vaccination or testing. Can you explain a little bit about that? And then I heard Gordon Bietz, Pastor Bietz, say that he said if you're vaccinated, meaning that there's some restrictions if you're not vaccinated. So if you could kind of unpackage that for us, first with the Union College.
Sure. Our goal is we there's many thoughts. Many people have different feelings in this area. We do not feel we want to force anyone to get vaccinated if they do feel uncomfortable doing so. That being said, that may limit some of their activities. They may not. They may need to wear a mask. They may have other restrictions put on them. But our goal is not to force anyone to have the vaccine if they so choose. The part of the testing is we actually had a Test Nebraska test site on campus last year, all of last year, where we tested students 4 days a week. We had that open so we could immediately test. And the state of Nebraska at this point doesn't see the need for that, and so we're not going to open that testing up. However, there's enough testing in all the local pharmacies and urgent care centers that a student can run down and get tested if need be. We're just not going to have it on campus right now. And that could change. I mean, as I said, we watch it daily.
Right.
I think the same point is true across the board, that things are in a state of flux, and it's our hope that it will die down, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. I see that Jennifer has asked a question in the chat about what the most asked question is from parents, and I think it relates to making sure my child is safe. Will they have to wear a mask? Will they have to be vaccinated? I don't know of other schools that are actually requiring vaccination, at least of our schools. I think the University of Nebraska is requiring vaccinations, but I think that they will suggest anyway strongly that students who are not vaccinated at least wear a mask.
Yeah, it's Wesleyan University in Lincoln is requiring it, not the University of Nebraska.
Oh, is it Wesleyan? Okay.
Wesleyan, okay. Yeah. And I had another thought there, but I just lost it. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, I've got a follow-up that I'd like to, if I can, behind you, Dr. Henry, on that. And that is just to give our audience a gist of the scope of Adventist higher education, because we didn't really talk about that. But when we talk about the scope of Adventist higher education, what are we talking about? How many campuses? Do we know, like, approximately the number of students that we serve, particularly here in North America? What does that look like, Dr. Bietz? Pastor Bietz?
We have 13 campuses across the North American division.
Mm-hmm.
We in size from smaller schools that are under 1,000, and Loma Linda and Andrews and Southern at 3, 4, 5,000. We have about 20,000 students, I think, in higher education as a ballpark figure, depending upon how you count upper division, how you count graduate students and so forth. So it's a goodly number of students that we're seeking to bring to Jesus.
Okay. All right. And this is probably another kind of boring question, but there may be some inquisitive minds like mine that out there who may want to know this. So as far as the structure goes, there are perhaps many in our audience who think about Adventist Higher Education, like who runs it? Who's in charge of it? Is this the general conference? Is this a union, or is it a local conference? How does that work? So, because I imagine that some people may be wondering these decisions that are being made, who's making them, and is there any oversight? How does that work?
Well, each institution is run independently by a board of trustees that's generally appointed by the union that institution is located in. And there's a great advantage to that. There's a great disadvantage to that, because the disadvantage is we become quite parochial, and it makes it a little more difficult to truly cooperate in terms of doing things collaboratively. But on the whole, the ultimate responsibility is with the Board of Trustees, and that is generally chaired by the union president of any of our schools. And that board is appointed by the constituency of those unions.
Okay. All right.
Interesting. Let me jump in here. Dr. Bietz, you mentioned being independently run, but there is still a sense as a member, we're still Adventists. Some people will feel that a house divided is a house that falls. But what is the thread that helps us to work together to have the goals that we have as Adventist education? We have Union College on here, but you talked about 13 colleges or 13 universities, 13 institutions.
Well, one of the main threads, and this is a group that I work very closely with, is the Adventist Accrediting Association. We visit every school in the North American division to verify, and not only in the North American division, this happens around the world, to verify their focus on Adventism and bringing the faith and values of the Adventist Church into the curriculum and into the classes at each institution. And so that accreditation is crucial to those schools if they want to attract Seventh-day Adventist students. I'm going to Africa actually in a few months to participate in an accreditation visit at 2 or 3 institutions overseas. And those of us who live in the United States need to understand that we are a shrinking minority, in a sense, of higher education, because the schools across the world are growing. And the largest school in the Seventh-day Adventist Church is in South Korea. So there are a lot of educational activities going on around the world.
Wow. Let me ask you this, a quick question. So, I know the universities somewhat work together, right, on this board or whatever they serve on. And I know that a lot of the schools, based on what you've said, they're trying to go back to pre-COVID days in their operation. But has there been like considerable thought about more hybrid opportunities in the educational system within our schools?
I think that the Zoom challenge has. I have to tell a story. I had one of the presidents of one of our institutions and I were talking after COVID hit, and he said, it would have taken me about 2 years to get my faculty to produce a class online, and they did it in 2 weeks. And so a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, And so this crisis has brought us to the ability to do a lot more online work. And so I think the answer to your question is yes. we will be using across all institutions more hybrid opportunities in terms of the production of lectures that are done before the students get to class, and watch the lecture and then have a conversation about the lecture when they get to class. So there's lots of new educational modalities, I think, that we have learned over the past year and a half.
I think it's also important to mention that these students do not really appreciate the online classes as much.
Right.
I think the real value of education is the social element of being in a class and being able to meet with students and discuss ideas and share ideas and learn and grow. And that was lacking that one semester where we were totally online. And we lost about 5% of our students of the semester after that because they did not want to participate in that type of program.
Well, so I'm curious. So where did they go? Did they go and find some place that was open and having classes on campus, or did they just drop out altogether?
Many of them have just dropped out altogether, and they're just now that we're back live, they're coming back. But they took a semester or two off.
All right.
The living learning environment is crucial to a good quality higher education. I don't care if it's secular or if it's religious. That environment of mentors and peers and growing in my intellectual life outside of the home in a environment with other leadership mentors is just crucial to good learning.
All right. Before we go to our next scheduled question, I want to pop this one up here. Is there any, this is from Dwayne Dortch. Dwayne is in Maryland area. Is there any consideration for the institutions collaborating to create a universal online, where'd we go? Universal online institution in this changing age of higher education? So we talked about some collab, but is there any discussion on collaboration in this context? I know we've had, what's our distance learning, Dion, that we took? Griggs. We had Griggs University for the longest time. Many of us who came through the Adventist system know that. But anything in that ballpark?
We are on the cusp of developing significantly more online collaboration between institutions. There's a faculty member, Janine Lim, at Andrews University that has led out in a number of universities working together. All the universities really are working together to provide classes to students who, for instance, if there's a class that is needed for graduation and it doesn't happen to be offered at a particular school, they'll take it from one of our other schools. Mm-hmm. We also are in the process of creating a PSA, a private system affiliation, so that our institutions can work together with back office activities, strengthening those activities and reducing the load on each institution, so possibly we could even reduce some tuition in some areas. So there's a lot of moving parts that are going on right now in relationship to collaboration, and sharing classes is one of those.
Great. I could see a scenario, and I may be way off, where there's a class that I really need this semester at Southern Adventist University, mm-hmm. but it is full. It can't take anymore. But there is an opening in that class, in that same class, at Oakwood University. Could I register for that class and do it, from where I am, and still get the same credit and still pay the same amount of money, et cetera? Things like that is what you're talking about that are okay. Awesome.
That's already happening now. We have many opportunities for the students to pick up classes from other campuses and even non-Adventist campus if we don't have the instructor or that particular class. So the exciting part is we can tailor a degree for any student on any campus now. When they want to go off on a little different tangent or tweak their area of study, we can add those courses really easily through them attending those other courses.
That is exciting.
That's great.
Union College and Southern Adventist University and Southwestern Adventist University collaborated on math, I believe it was, Rick, where
Yes.
they have developed a single curriculum, and it's taught on the 3 campuses, and
Wow.
that helps them get the best of the teachers in very specialized areas, particularly upper division, and increase the quality of that particular curriculum.
And those students actually sit in on the class with the other students from the other school, and the teacher can talk to them. So we have live cameras going on and good interaction.
Oh, wow. That's
Wow.
fascinating.
And was that happening prior to COVID, or that's something that
Yes,
sped up?
That's been happening for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That happened when I was president of Southern.
Okay. All right. So Jennifer is saying, how are you marketing or advertising that change? I think she's basically saying, how come I ain't never heard of this? This is this is exciting. This is out there. Why don't we know about these things? Well, Jennifer, that's why you tune into the Pastors Roundtable. You get to hear stuff like that right here, relevant, resourced, and real. Listen, if you are just joining us, we thank you for joining us today. You are joining the Pastors Roundtable on Saturday, July 31. We are talking with Pastor Gordon Bietz and Rick Young. Pastor Gordon Bietz is the North American Division Assistant Director for Higher Education, amongst a whole lot of other things, as well as Rick Young is the Academic Dean at Union College. If you were just joining us, welcome. We want you to do something for us, though. We said at the beginning of the show we wanted to get a whole bunch of shares out. What was our goal? I think we were trying to get
our goal is 100 shares.
100 shares. I'm looking right now, and I'm seeing we are at 20. That means we are a fifth of the way there. Praise the Lord. That's a good start. I'm playing. It's not. That's a terrible start. It's a horrible start. So we need you to go ahead and hit that share button, because you're learning. You've already heard some stuff that you've probably never heard before about Adventist Christian education right now. So we want you to make sure that somebody else gets to hear the rest of this conversation. So go ahead and share that for us, and thank you so much in advance for that. Question number 2, which we want to move to on your sheets, gentlemen. So I have the privilege and the opportunity of pastoring a church where we have a early learning center as well as a K-8 school here at New Hope in Fort Lauderdale. So I know there's a lot of conversations that have been happening at this level, at the K-12 level, when it comes to COVID precautions and how we're going to do work and class in this environment going forward. I know we've touched on some of that already in this conversation, but I just want to take a step back and just revisit it. Our comparable conversations, the type of things that we're having to do here, making sure that, desks are so far apart from each other, that all of our signs and all of our bathrooms and touch lists, all of that type of equipment. For our parents out there and our students who may feel kind of, man, I got to go and live in a dorm. And dorms can be wonderful, clean, pristine, always well-kept places, sanitary in every way.
At least the boys' dorm.
At least the boys' dorm. That's right. Boys' dorm is always.
I don't know what dorm you stayed.
But some of the conversations that churches, schools at the K-12 level are having, are there similar conversations? What are those conversations like in prepping, at least for this new school year? I know we talked about vaccinations and masks. Anything in addition to that you could share that might make some of our parents and students feel more comfortable about what they may be walking into in the fall?
Well, I know for Southern, for instance, because I was president there, they changed all the HVAC systems across the campus to medical grade HVAC, so that the exchange of air was much more purified.
Wow.
They put up the hand washing things, hand sanitizing things all over the place. And I guess the quick answer to your question is yes. All that's happening at K-12 is happening on the Adventist universities, I think, on steroids in many cases. I'm sure that's true, Rick. It is as at Union as well.
Yes, and also we allow a single room. If a student really wants to be alone and not with a roommate, we have opportunities for that without any additional charge.
Bless the Lord.
The other thing, yes, we've stepped up our cleaning. There's so much done. There's so much committee work and so many people watching things now that we didn't really keep an eye on, but it is a much cleaner environment. But I think it's also important to look at the demographics of this pandemic. It does not really affect the young people. I mean, it's 49 up, it gets to the 9.8, but below 49 years of age, it's 9.9, no issues. So we're talking very small. In fact, for up to 18-year-olds, I believe it's 9.99 the people who get the disease have a problem with it. So,
and listen,
yes,
I got to jump in there because
keep things clean, but
I want to zero in, Mr. Rick, on what you said. It depends. A lot of it depends on where you are. Because down here in South Florida, I don't want my South Florida people thinking that South Florida is like Lincoln. Down here in South Florida, in Broward County, where I'm at, our population, 30% of our population is 45 and below. Yet 70% of our cases from the last 2 weeks have been in that 45 and below of this new variant. In our area, it is moving into those areas. So be careful as you've got to know where you are and pay attention to what's happening where you are. Things like that may be different, but in our case, we've got to follow those statistics and those data. And right where we are, it is just the opposite. Our older population right now is the safer population. It is our 45 and younger who are more at risk for the Delta variant in the county where I pastor and where our schools are. So pay attention to those to that data where you are. It may be different. So if you're a parent, if you're a student, you just got to keep your ear to the ground on those things. So where you guys are in Lincoln, that's very helpful for parents to know that data there. And I think that's going to make a lot of people feel much more comfortable with that.
And that may be a good reason why to go to Union. So
there you
once
go.
you get out there, it'll be less. But
that's the marketing right there.
Absolutely.
All right, we got that next question.
Yes.
So listen, I am excited to have both of you here. One of the biggest debate that we've been here, and I've been hearing. I remember when I was pastoring, I had a young adult who did not want to do the traditional school. He did not want to go do a BA or a BS in education. He wanted to do the vocational thing. And I've realized he actually brought it to my attention of this debate that's happening with traditional versus vocational education. In both of you have been involved. Obviously, Pastor Bietz, you have been involved in higher ed for much longer, for a long time, I should say. And Rick, you have worked in higher ed for a number of years. What is your take on the traditional versus vocational education debate? I'm going to ask Rick to start.
I have vocational education is excellent if you can connect with local businesses and establish a clear path to a job. There is opportunities for certificates and so forth. But in the context of me knowing this question was coming, I sent a note out to our presidents, and I have a response to this question from the president of Walla Walla, John McVeigh. And I'd like to read that because he does a really nice job of talking about this. As research has demonstrated, Generation Z, coming out of the Great Recession, has an interest in stability and predictability around the results of investing in a college education, meaning they wish to have a job and a career at the end of that investment. It's not a matter of meeting that market in a way that does not abandon or deeply held commitments to participation in the educating of the whole person in a broad way that prepares them not just for a job, not just for the first job, but the second job and the 10th job as well. This new context helps us to think clearly about the value of clear writing, cogent communication, critical thinking, and to demonstrate how such skills increase one's value in the marketplace. The same line of thinking can be applied to our commitments to integrate faith and learning. We are educating broadly, not only for this life, but for the one that is to come. So the reality is we need to be sure that we connect our teaching to the bigger world and the bigger environment. And there are a lot of businesses that are anxious for critical thinking, thoughtful, and all of those kinds of things. So vocation is good, but we can't choose our education just by learning how to paint cars and build houses. There's a broad education is really important for us to remember.
Rick?
Another to add to that, if you talk to employers of many different fields, even restaurants, just about any career path, they are looking for people with soft skills. And that's where we here at Union College have really started to address in all of our programs, building the soft skills. What I mean by that is the communication skills, computer literacy, technical literacy, flexibility, adaptability, managing multiple priorities, honesty, integrity, dedication, hard work, work ethic, reliability is one of the number ones, and understanding leadership. And so all of our programs that we're looking closely at, and our International Rescue and Relief Program was built on that concept of taking students and building all those soft skills into everything that they do. So when they walk out of here, they're a leader and can be a very good, reliable employee.
I see a question in the chat.
Go ahead, Dr. Bietz.
That question in the chat, what is the plan if any of your institutions have an epidemic? It's exactly the same, have an outbreak, exactly the same as it was last year. Students are isolated, they're put in their own room, they're delivered food from the cafeteria, they're totally separated from the rest of the students. I had a grandson that was stuck in that environment last year.
And that's something that is universal, you're saying, across all 13 of our campuses here in North America?
I think it is.
Okay.
I believe so. And it's about a 10 to 14 day period that they're in isolation, and then they able to come back in.
Okay. So let me, go ahead, Roger. Yep.
Well, let me follow up here. So I appreciate what you shared there from Dr. McVeigh and the sentiments that has been shared. But here again, the question about the vocational piece, now the big question, I know we have a question on finances coming up, but that's the other big concern that a lot of our students are having, that they have invested all this dollars into school, and you know, they don't have a job. You know, we don't have the skills that are needed. Rick, you shared about the soft skills that companies have, but sometimes there is this sense of, in order to get the skills, I need to have the job or the experience, and I don't really get it in the school. What are some of our schools thinking about ways in which we can help our students gain some experiences prior to graduation?
Yes, here at Union, all of our degrees now require an internship. So either it's one semester, or some of them we like 2 semesters, where they are out in the community, involved in their area chosen career path, and learning from the workforce. And also here at Union, we created an occupational therapy assistant program. It's a 2-year degree program. The students come out of that, get past the boards, and they can $65,000 to $70,000 starting salary for occupational therapy assistants. So we also have had several students wanting to tweak a career here that we don't offer, So we have allowed, it's a best of both worlds, we call it. They get to go to the local community college, but they can live here on Union College campus, have the social and Christian environment, Adventist environment to live in, and get their technical knowledge that they need for some of their career paths. And that's allied health field, and that we're actually studying right now in the allied health field of how we can build in that area. So we have a team working on that right now. We don't have anything to report on it, but yes, it is being looked at and watched closely. But we do find parents do prefer their students to come on an Adventist college for the social environment, for the church contacts and going to church with their friends and meeting like-minded people. So we do look at those opportunities for those students to further their interest here.
Oh boy, I just had a question pop into my head that's going to take this on a whole nother turn, but I just gotta do it because part of our thing is we're going to keep this. We're trying to help keep ministry relevant, resource, and the last one is real. So Rick, with your law enforcement background, I learned how to cuss in church school. I had friends that got kicked out of school for fighting, for drugs, for being pregnant, for all kind of stuff in church school. And a lot of the bad habits and a lot of stuff that parents think that they are sending their kids to our schools. And I'm sorry for popping this on you. We didn't prep you for this one. It just came to mind. But yeah, they some of the things that our parents send their kids to Christian schools or to church schools hoping that they are going to avoid, oftentimes they end up saying, wait a minute, my kid learned this stuff in this environment. What can we tell our parents who may be fearful of that and saying, and we saw a question pop up in this, and maybe I'm taking somebody else's question. I think I probably am because this fits in that other one. So my apologies. You can take mine, whoever had that other one. The difference that we expect between church school and higher education or Adventist higher education and a other type of a public or private education. What is it that really is going to make ours difference? Yeah, I totally turned that into that other question, but here we are. But your background, that just popped into my head with your background and what you do. We see some of those things here. How do we speak to parents that are saying, yeah, there's this and there's this, but I don't really see that big of a difference? Where do we find the difference?
I think where we see number one, it's still a real world experience. They're coming out of their home and meeting with other students with many different beliefs and activities. And yes, all those things can occur here, but we do have very strong, and I know all of our campuses do, a student life aspect with the deans of the dorms, and our student life activities are monitored, and students make stupid decisions sometimes, and they are given some grace.
Not in the boys' dorm, though. Not in the boys' dorm.
Not in the and given some grace and worked with and maybe provided counseling and or rehabilitation and given a second chance. Strike 2 or 3, then they may have to move on and go elsewhere. But it is watched, it is closely, and it is a little safer environment than, I went to a Cal State LA with 36,000 students. A big difference than coming here to Union College with under 1,000. So,
okay.
I don't think there's any question, but that we can't isolate our students from the world. Even if we tried, they all have cell phones, and it's pretty hard to separate them. When I went to La Sierra College, we used to say that when we drove out to the college from Glendale, Rick, that we passed the SB. What's the SB? Well, that was the sin barrier.
Oh, wow.
There's no such thing that we can put around our campuses anymore, but we can connect them with peers of similar values and mentors that teach and model those values. You know, my experience when I was a pastor, I had a fellowship at Harvard for a semester. And even as a mature adult, the pressure to conform to views of Scripture, God, and Jesus Christ in Harvard Divinity School was strong. And we have no comprehension of some of the pressures that young people can be put under in a secular public institution, even if it's an Ivy League, or particularly even if it's an Ivy League institution.
Let me also add that 2 years ago, we started a student success program here on the campus where every freshman coming in gets a life coach, a one-on-one time with a life coach, and they get to know that individual. And it's not their academic, it's not their dean, it's they get to share their intimate problems and concerns and get the help that they need one-on-one. And it's been a very successful program since we've started it. And,
I've got to bring up one other thing, and that is, when before Southern Adventist University was Southern Adventist University, it was SMC, notably termed as Southern Matrimony College. And I think that it's really important to realize that, my wife has an expression. She used it when she was talking to a parent whose daughter had gone to a public university for a particular program and was beginning to date a non-Christian or a non-Seventh-day Adventist. And my wife said, well, you buy where you shop.
Oh, wow.
And the reality is that happens. And that particular child was brought home from that university, brought to Southern Adventist University, married a wonderful Christian guy, and now they're living in that community and adding a lot to the church and to the community. So there's a lot that goes on in the social milieu that we don't necessarily advertise, but that's really important.
So what I'm actually hearing from both of you, Rick and Pastor Bietz, is that Adventist education also gives a sense of support to the things that go along with the education piece, the academics. And I think we spend a lot of time and energy on that. Is that what I'm hearing? That we do put a lot of energy into the spiritual life and the student life that goes along with the academic life. Is that true?
That's exactly
every school. As president of Southern, a large percentage of our budget went to things that might not be considered strictly academic, but they were social, they were community, they were extracurricular, but they were building community and building the students in their Christian walk.
Okay.
I got a question here. Within the Adventist educational system, especially here in North America, I know that there are some schools that specialize in a specific discipline. So if you want to have a Doctor of Ministry degree, or you want to go to the seminary, that's Andrews. If the engineering program at Walla Walla, what are some of the other programs that are out there that we might not know that some of the schools specialize in? And then what are some of the areas that we just need, to have a school specialize in, and the challenges? For example, a law school. We don't have a law school. I know it costs thousands and probably millions of dollars to have a law school, but can you share with us some of the specialized, some of the schools that have specialized disciplines, and some of the things that maybe some schools are looking into that we don't have as of yet?
I'll let Rick talk.
I always highlight our Union College's International Rescue and Relief Program. It's a very unique degree. It's been out about 16 years now, and it's really designed for a student to build what they want career-wise. I printed out a list of all the different careers that I currently have students, graduates that have gone into, which some have gone back to have gone to the military as medics. I have one that's a search and rescue expert now with the Air Force. Community development, counseling, dentist, education, emergency management, EMTs, firefighters, paramedics, healthcare workers, phlebotomists, and that sort of thing, emergency room technicians. We have one in landscape. Because of his rope work, he does the tree trimming and loves that. Law enforcement, several have gone that direction. Medical doctor, a dental school, military, mission, nonprofit agencies, nurses, optometrists, PAs, paramedic, I mentioned three that are professors, psychology, public health, Red Cross, a student dean at the academy, a couple of those. One went back to the Coast Guard, and YMCA and youth leadership and camp development. So many different paths you can take from one simple international rescue and relief degree. And maybe to describe it, actually, there's a video that you might want to play. It kind of gives one of our students talking about it.
Sounds like there's more than just preachers and teachers and that we graduate these days. What?
Yes. I'm ready to run that video if you want to start there and come back to it. Tell me when.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Oh, we don't have the audio, Raj.
Oh.
Hey, a picture's worth 1,000 words, man.
Well, this is
so you can narrate for us, Rick.
This is Swiftwater Rescue, and Caleb Shedler there is one of our graduates. He's now a firefighter paramedic in Maryland, teaching teamwork, leadership, and how to rescue people is an important part of that part of the program.
So this is a college course at Union College.
This is a college course. I'm going to share my screen and share one more with you.
Okay.
Is it playing there? Is it there?
International Rescue Relief. What is that? I got to see a little bit what they did, and I just fell in love with the school as well as the program. I knew I didn't want to do the traditional way of things for medicine. And so I really like that IRR has something that actually helps with medical. You go to clinicals and see how actual EMTs and paramedics do what they do. You go to Colorado and spend 5 weeks doing intense training with swiftwater rescue, blood management, technical ropes rescue, survival training. And they continue to build up from there, and they teach you how to deal with disaster management. In your last year, you go to Nicaragua and spend a full semester there learning different survival skills and actually doing clinics. You learn stuff, but you also have a lot of fun. I went to Chad as an SM, but was in a hospital. Because I had that foundation of EMT, I grew to the point where I was able to assist and be a surgeon's aide and scrub in for surgeries and do many more amazing things. As I go through med school and continue on residency and start to work, I will be able to apply different things that not many people have been able to do.
Wow. I need to say that that was the IRR program is what really gave me joy and excitement connected to Union, especially as I went to serve in the Mid-America Union. I was just like, wow, they teach this at school. When I was coming up, it was either you become a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. IRR seems like it's too much. It's very sexy. That's all I want to say. It's very exciting in terms of what students do. And I know of a young man who was very close to my family who graduated out of that program, and I'm so proud of him. And he's in medical school right now, studying to be a pediatric doctor because of what he has experienced there through the IRR program. So I just want to lift up the IRR program there at Union.
Let me mention another program go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say about a third of the students in the IR program go on to medical school or dental school. A third go on to public safety, so paramedic, firefighting, law enforcement. And then the other third go into community development, mission work around the world. So it is a very diverse program with many different directions. So,
as I said, one of our presidents also wanted to get his 2 bits in on variety of programs, and so I'm going to read another note from John McVeigh at Walla Walla. Among the unique offerings I would underline at Walla Walla University are a new engineering program, emphasis on bioengineering, an emerging emphasis on big data in a variety of disciplines, a new focus on music production in our music programs. In addition, a bevy of research projects involving student researchers in marine biology, making use of our beautiful Rosario Beach Marine Laboratory campus, has put us on the map in research linked to climate change. Not long ago, I stood on the beach with Dr. Onkthank. In a few minutes, he led me in his logical, impassioned way to the conclusion that Walla Walla University is the very best place on the planet for Christian students to pursue the exciting field of marine biology. So many of us are not aware of the huge variety of programs that are developed at all of our universities. And so I don't think that any individual student should be limited by feeling like he was going to a very narrow school and couldn't have a broad experience. Because I think the broad variety of majors, you can get pretty much anything that you're looking for.
Wow. Awesome.
I mentioned the OTA program. We also have an excellent graphic design program, and emerging web design and that sort of thing. We have the top of the line in that area. And our biomedical science, has a pre-med section, but also the biomedical science takes you to many pre-allied health, the radiology, sonography, many different career paths that are well-paying positions out of the biomedical science program. So, I have to throw out education. You've mentioned several times, but we have an excellent education program here on the college also.
Guys, we need to get all of our academic deans, all 13 of them, on here and let them just kind of go, well, we have this. Well, we have this. Well, we got this over here. Where we're getting ready to do this. This
is fine. Just let me tell you about Union College. It's just fine.
Right.
That would be awesome.
But, I think that would be because, see, a lot of times just because I guess the lack of trying to investigate what each college offers, some people think, well, you know what? I'm not going to get this discipline from, Adventist school, so I need to go a different way to get it. But we offer a lot in Adventism. Now, answer this one, if you can, about a law school. I know it's like a challenge to get one done. Is there any school that's at least talking about it, or is that's just something that
pre-law programs?
We'll let. We have pre-law, but the law school, yes.
The cost associated with that is insurmountable.
Yes.
It's in the multiple millions. It has been investigated, particularly, I think, by Loma Linda University. And it's just felt that there are some graduate degrees that we need to prepare students to go into, but we simply do not have the resources and the ability to offer. And that's been one that has been a challenge over the past number of years.
Are our schools still, and I'm making an assumption by saying still, kind of territorial when it comes to recruiting?
Less so than they used to be. Still concerned about getting students because that's what pays the salaries. But they are, AQ, the Association of Adventist Colleges and Universities, hires a full-time person, Mark Grundy, who establishes a website and who coordinates marketing for all the schools through a variety of mechanisms and working with some other companies. So we are working together a lot more than we used to.
because I'm just, in our union we have 2 schools. I think only one of them is operated by the union here in the Southern Union, and that's Southern. I think Oakwood is that still NAD?
Oakwood is a division school,
Division,
and
yep.
Advent Health University is a school for Advent Health.
Right, but so if they can only recruit in this area, and if Walla Walla can only recruit up in the Northwest, then students down here will never know there's a marine biology program that they can get in Christian education, and they'll never know that there's a music production class that they can take, because the schools in this part of the country may not have those programs there. And so students may feel like so I've got to go to a public university. And you begin to weigh the value. Then are we really valuing Adventist Christian education, or are we more in this competitive type spirit? And so,
okay, is this the time for me to share the website?
Oh, sure, let's do it. If you're ready, we're ready.
Yeah, I just saw the question pop up. Yeah, the
different
question
screen
just
right
popped
quick,
up.
but we'll make it work. Okay.
Just a minute. I've got to make sure I get the website up.
And I think that is the key thing we wanted to. If you don't get anything else from today's show, the key thing is that there is a multitude of opportunities that our colleges, Adventist colleges and universities provide. And we just need to do a little extra work to do that. But I think that the website that we're about to see helps in getting us much closer to that.
You guys continue talking. For some reason, I'm having a little trouble bringing it up.
Okay. Well, let me ask this question as you're bringing it up. Now, Adventist University, I think we established that is the way to go. I mean, with the size, with the networking, that is just the way that we push for our young people to go into some type of Adventist school somewhere, so that they can get the education they need. But finances are a major concern, right? Because if you go to a public university, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get that public university price. If you go to a private school, you're going to get that private school price, whether you're Adventist or not.
Tuition, all of that. Yeah,
that's right. So I know that's a major concern for a lot of our parents. What are some of the ways institutions can, or maybe they're already helping to meet those financial gaps when it comes to the educational goals and pursuits?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into our financing. In fact, every student, 100% of our students at Union College receive some type of scholarship, number one. We just started a new program. Our board of directors stepped up, and any family making less than $60,000, the gap between any financial aid that they request is covered by the board of directors. They find donors to pay off. So anyone in the middle and lower income area, don't let that be a barrier for you. Come to the college and we'll help finance you. And then 26% of the cost of going to our school is covered by donations. Every spring we have a tuition-free day just to show the students, you paid to this far, the rest of this semester is being paid by donors, just to let them know. So there is a lot of effort. And if you look closely at the costs compared to local state colleges and that, we're very competitive now. Community colleges maybe have us beat, but a 4-year degree, I think we're very competitive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Well, that's good to know. I know that some students, at least in the public sector, they're able to take a lot of college courses when they're in high school. Is that also? I believe that's also offered in our Adventist, and I know that we're talking about the academy now, but preparing for colleges, that's also offered. Do you know in our academies?
Yes, some classes are approved to count as for college credit, and in fact, a lot of homeschool students do a lot of college prep work for their senior year, and that does count for some of their classes here. So.
Yeah, well, hey, can we, because this was interesting. Dr. Henry was not in on our conversation last night, and we talked a little bit about this, and I see a comment in the chat there from Wu Wampa. He says, starts with strong elementary schools. So we kind of had this conversation just a little bit about, we see some of the cutting edge schools, or what people assume to be the cutting edge schools, education, not protocols, but blueprints or models, that where you're seeing higher education institutions being very intentional about their reach into even elementary schools and prepping children on a track. And so by the time they get to college, I'm not talking about middle school, I'm not talking about high school. They're starting at elementary school level and starting first graders. There it is, Doc. I see it. But they're starting like first graders, second graders, and they are already being intentional about getting them into college, and not just from the college, but into a vocation. So they're looking at education as a connected linear thing that they are helping to prepare. Do we see anything like that within the Adventist system? Or are we contemplating anything of the sort within the Adventist system?
I know that, again, here at Union College, we are very active in our academies, and we actually send our professors out. We call them academic roadshows, and they go out into the academies and teach a class to let those students know what careers, what courses we have, and what we offer here. And then they get to meet the professor, and then we'll have lunch with them and ask any questions. So we do try to make those connections. And then we also, our George Stone School is an elementary K through 8 training ground here on our campus in our education department. So if you want to teach in those smaller schools, we have a whole lab set up for you to teach in that environment and build those connections. I have to share this quick story. The reason I left law enforcement, retired law enforcement, and I wanted to teach, I was planning to teach third grade, because I found that as a police officer, trouble starts for young people in the second and third grade. Oh, wow. And if we can stop it there, identify it, it can be identified. I can identify a gang member in third grade. And if I could stop it there, it's going to help their life. Unfortunately, my last class for my master's, my professor pulled me aside and said, Rick, you're great. You have 3 job offers, but you need to go to the college and teach in that level with what you have. And that got me thinking. Outlook magazine that Sabbath had Union College looking for director of IRR, and that's how I ended up here. So, but it is so true. We need to look closely at that link and do more programs to build those connections.
Man, that's interesting. Very interesting. You said third grade. We got to concentrate on that third grade, right?
Second, third grade. Yeah.
Wow. All right, Dr. Bietz, we have that slide up for you here. We're going to find that. Boom, there we go.
Okay, this is AdventistColleges.org. It's all 13 institutions that have put their information on here. You can go to their website from here. You can investigate all the offerings that they have from here. You can visit their campus, so to speak, campus visit guide, campus trip, college fairs. There are fairs where they go to each college and explain some of the offerings they have. Here are the careers and majors of all of the different colleges. You can apply to 3 schools with 1 application here. And this is a list of all the universities and where they are, western, central, and eastern part of the United States. Because we were talking about the possibility of more collaboration and so forth. Well, this is one way that we are trying to get the word out there to everyone. If you have a question about why go to an Adventist institution, this gives the benefits of Adventist education. It talks about the study that was done that shows that students who go through Adventist colleges and universities have a significantly higher percentage that stay in the church. This is the Adventist Teaching and Philosophy, and then I have to advertise a presentation that I made at the General Conference camp meeting, a 40-minute talk on the importance of higher education, why we have Adventist higher education. And I don't think I want to spend all 40 minutes right now, but it's a good talk, and that's where you can awesome. Find it. But this is a website that we need to market and advertise even more than we do, because it allows an individual to research all that's available in Adventist higher education in the North American division.
Wow, that's awesome. You guys make sure you get that website down and go and check that out. I know a number of you probably have some questions and want to find out more. That is a great resource. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Bietz.
So let me ask this question. As you're talking about marketing, and that's one of the biggest things, besides, we talked a little bit about the finances. We talked a little bit about, and the key thing about finances is that we need to stop asking the questions and getting involved in order to find out there is money out there. But many of our Adventist universities, if they are not the Oakwoods or the Andrews or the Loma Lindas, nobody really knows about them, or Southerns. What are you doing to promote? What is Union doing? What is some of the other schools doing to promote their schools in places they would not normally find children? For instance, Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're working with a new company this year to do a little more directed marketing particularly around schools in geographic areas. And I'll admit that we're not doing enough. It becomes a very expensive activity to do significant marketing. But when I was president of Southern, we did a survey in the Southern Union to find out how much people knew about Southern Adventist University, and it was very little. And so we really need to do a much better job in communicating the value added that we provide with our institutions. And I appreciate you mentioning that, and it's something that's on the top of mind for us.
Here at Union College, the middle of America, I have to add, the heartland of America, our college, I believe the number is, we have 47 different states represented at our college. So we have students from around the country and the world. I think it's 17 different countries that attend Union College. So marketing is big, and digital marketing is where it's at. So we really have stepped up our game using our classes in digital web making and using that to put up some information, and it's starting to pay off.
And so for all of our college recruiters out there, that's the way that you beat the system. But you don't have to go into another Union territory. Just put it online.
That's what you do.
All right.
Awesome. Well, we are look at our time. We have really looked at the gamut of Adventist higher ed. I hope that those who will look in and those who will look would find information here to begin to look at Union College particularly very closely, and possibly consider that as a school. And because of the exposure, Dr. Bietz, that you have shared with us for the other 12 campuses, many folks will be able to see an option that they can pick and choose, and even ask the questions that are necessary. Some of the questions that have been put in the chat. I do want to acknowledge the fact that the concept of the life coach resonated very strongly in our chat with folks talking about that. I thought that was a very interesting concept. And let me ask, Rick, was that considered because it was a small college situation, or would you see that on any campus with the freshman class coming in?
I think you see that with any of our colleges. There's a big effort right now to really focus in on student success and building.
Excellent. So as we wrap up, gentlemen, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to just share what you would like our viewers to take away from your presentation today, things that they need to really keep in mind as we engage in making decisions for Adventist education. We're going to start with Dr. Bietz. What would you like our folks to take away with today?
AdventistColleges.org. Remember that, AdventistColleges.org. And also, pandemic or no pandemic, Adventist education is a great value for those who wish to grow and develop with a Christian worldview. Our Seventh-day Adventist colleges nurture a service mindset. They not only learn a career, but they learn how to serve humanity and serve God. And it is vitally important, more important, I think, today than it was 100 years ago or 50 years ago, to place our young people in an environment where they have shared values with their peers and modeled values with their mentors.
Awesome. Rick?
I probably end with my mantra in working in law enforcement was to provide everyone I came in contact with love and respect. And I have to say, I find that in the Adventist education system with every faculty member. You will not find a more dedicated human being there for the individual students. They care. You don't find that in the larger secular universities. You're taken care of, you're provided some hope, you are loved by each and every faculty member, and you are respected as an individual. So I think it's a mission field for educators in the Adventist system, but it's a real worthwhile. I've enjoyed my 10 years here immensely.
Awesome.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Listen, there have been some questions that have been raised that we didn't really get to today. I saw one that I wanted to, this one was very intriguing to me about in Florida. We have step-up vouchers. When will the NAD recognize that some of us want to use them as virtual school online so that our children can still have grounded Christian education? That's something we don't really have time to get into, but some of those questions on finances, we would love to be able to have you gentlemen back to be able to dig a little deeper, because there are in places like Florida where we are, many of our church schools are supported, like 90% of my students are supported by public vouchers. And if those went away, if the politics change, many of our schools out the gate would just disappear. And those are things that we have been wrestling with on the local level, or we've been talking. Let me change that we've been talking about on the local level. We would love to know or to hear, are those conversations happening at division level, at union level? And is there some ideas? Is there some hope that we may be able to become more sustainable and less dependent on things like that? A lot of our parents have those questions. A lot of our teachers and our administrators are having those questions on the local level. So we would love to have an opportunity to get into that and even just to talk more about the viability and sustainability going forward of Adventist Christian education, with or without COVID-19 in the picture. So I look forward to being able to. Yes.
Pastor Paul, there's another question too about this one SDA college system.
Yes, I saw that.
Different campuses, and there's more. I have more questions on the technical school. I know that we're promoting the education, college experience, university experience. But what about this technical institute having different campuses in different places? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can get into.
That's in the water. Okay, that's in the water. It doesn't happen overnight, though. That's for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
I'm encouraged.
Yes.
Pastor Bietz, in what you're sharing today, that our higher education group has kind of begun to come to the table and talking about things that will sustain us and go further in helping us to be united for our singular cause of educating our young people. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Again, thank you so much, gentlemen. Yes, go ahead, Dion.
I want to thank our guests, Dr. Bietz, Pastor B, Professor Young, for coming on to the Pastors Roundtable. Really good information, and I think that a lot of people appreciated what you brought to the table and your experience. So thank you so much. I want to ask the way next week. What's on the schedule for next week?
Well, we're going to continue with a higher education conversation. And what we're talking about is actually, we talked about Adventist education this week. Next week, we're going to be in the public education arena, but we're going to talk about the Daniels and the Josephs that are in those arenas and how they support our children while they're there. So we have some very interesting guests who are going to join us, who are administrators in those public education systems. And we're going to talk about the support that is given to Adventist students there.
And we need to have this crew back again to talk about the reach that our universities can have in those places. This is I'm sorry, Dr. Bietz, I looked like I interrupted you. You were adding something.
No, I think I should listen into that, because that's a really good topic, and we have a good group of students of leaders that are working in the public education sector.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Raj.
So listen, we're just so happy that you could have joined us, Dr. Bietz and Professor Young. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for representing Adventist Higher Ed with excellence. And we will actually be placing in our show notes more information, some of the information that you shared, and contact information for both of you all, so that our viewers, when they watch this, they'll be able to reach out to you. And we thank you again for being here. And we thank you for joining us here at the Pastors Roundtable, where we strive to make ministry relevant,
resourced,
and real. God bless.